There we go. So we are recording class again today. This is for people that are absent. So I'm trying my best to make sure that the screen shows up. But today in class we're focusing on the project, right?
Yeah.
We've been working on different aspects of it. I went over some of the terms. And yesterday we went over what? What did we finish with?
The R and K.
R and K. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can you define your animal okay with that?
Yeah.
All right?
Once I do some more research on it, we'll be
Yeah, you're gonna do a little more research on it. So before you jump too deep into that, I wanted to cover one other concept that Bella was asking about.
Hippo.
Yes, and make sure we understand what that is. So again, I'm going to the notes that are they're found in our topics page under population ecology. It's titled that. And HIPPO, we talked a little bit about this acronym when we were looking at Easter Island. And so I'm going to go to my notes I have on my notability. So just a little backstory. In order to really look at HIPPO, one of the concepts we have to understand is extinction and how it plays a role in determining diversity on our planet, right? So it's involved with evolution, right? What's the mechanics of evolution? What's controlling evolution? You said it yesterday? Natural selection is the main mechanical or whatever, the main process that kills off individuals of a population that are not suited for their environment. But sometimes we have periods where we have these big, massive wipeouts. And they reset populations, they reset biodiversity. Bella, do you have a question?
I was trying to find what number slide this is.
The slide number's 25. Great question.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah, I can always do that. And for me, the slide number's so small over here you can't see us. It's good to ask.
Thank you.
So extinction becomes a really important thing. Now, based off the fossil record, right? Looking at fossils, limited point of view in understanding science, but we've been able to gain pretty good understanding of stuff. I mean, there's still stuff that's gapped there. We're able to determine that most species last, 1 million to 10 million years. Large range there. Yes, Nadia.
It's kind of a random question, but
Yeah.
obviously it has to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, so we're discovering new species, but are new species like not being like are there new species occurring? If that makes sense. Like
Yeah, there's two angles with that, and I'm a big bird nerd, and so I pay attention to a lot of bird stuff. I went to a bird conference. Part of it is we're redefining species and understanding that something we thought maybe was in a species, like an example would be some warblers, those little type of little birds. We find out that they're actually two different groups. There's actually two distinct species there instead of one.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how we're growing species. There are new discoveries of animals that have happened. I'll give you an example. In India, as they were piling up some earth to create a big dam, they discovered some frogs that bury themselves and live for many years underground. It's a purple frog. And it's a very unusual animal we don't know much about. And so occasionally we discover new things, and occasionally we redefine things to make a new group. So that's kind of what that means. That's
Okay.
a good question. Yes?
I have a little bit of a sidetrack thing.
Yeah.
Because you said, first week of class that there are frogs that, get salt,
wood
right?
frog.
Yeah, wood
What
frogs.
do they look like?
Just like
They are kind of a pale tan color with a black mask across their face. Like they're wearing a little Zorro mask. Like a little bandit mask.
Aren't they the same?
Why? Why you ask that? You seen it?
No, I just had I had an issue with a frog that there was a frog that got into my pillow on a mountain, and I found 3 months later, and it was frozen solid, and I was just thinking if I threw away a frog that could still be alive, but.
I see.
Oh, that's
Wait,
so
what?
gross.
It was just
Wait, you know how
frozen
there's also
solid.
like the frog, you know, little fake wooden frogs that you can use like the sound that makes
Yeah.
the sound. Isn't that mimicking a wood frog? Is that just all frogs?
I don't know. That's a
I always
good
thought that was
question.
supposed to be a wood
That's,
frog.
that's usually from South America and Central America.
That those things.
So
that make
they're
the
probably
noise.
mimicking
I
something.
know that really.
All right. So the point of this is, I'm headed towards hippo. I swear. But part of this is that extinction has largely been a natural thing. Humans have only been on the scene for about 10,000 years, really making differences. And we've really started changing and influenced the environment since the 1850s. So we're relatively new on the scene. And so, we look at this background information, that's what it looks like. Most species last anywhere from 1 million to 10 million years, and they go extinct naturally due to competition, due to disasters, all these different things that may select them out, kill them off over time. Does that make sense? All right. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. So here's fossil record stuff. And so, the thing that's really important is that now we're affecting the rates of extinction. It's reported that we're in the middle of the sixth mass extinction epoch, meaning this time period of when we're losing species faster than the normal rate. And epoch means a time period where that's occurring. And epochs usually last thousands or a million years. So the problem with that is that this means that it's affecting biodiversity. Biodiversity is all the different types of animals we have, types of organisms we have, genetically, and those different varieties of things provide so many different services for us. And see the ones I have circled there. Food, fiber, medicine, and then of course the services they provide, everything from pollination to filtration to nutrient cycling. And so these values, which I noted are anthropocentric here, or even what would be another value we can put for ethics?
Intrinsic value.
Yeah, these are, well, no.
What?
If food,
Instrumental
fiber,
value.
medicine is instrumental value. Thank you, whoever said that. That's good. So those are more instrumental values, or anthropocentric ones too. So it affects us. And so we're a bit concerned. Science as a whole is concerned about it because, sharks, let's just take sharks for example. Sharks have been around since, over 400 million years, and we're finding that they're pretty resistant to cancers. So whoa, how's that possible? We can learn a lot from these species that are around us, and if we allow them to die off before we understand their many different values, from intrinsic to instrumental values to us, then we may be less because of that, right? So there's a concern, because we get a lot of medicine from it. Do you know where aspirin comes from originally? Just for an example, aspirin?
Bacteria?
No, it's not bacteria. It's from a willow tree. It's from the bark of a willow tree. Like all these medicines, aspirin's like a common one, right? But a lot of our medicines come from animal or plant or even fungal sources. And it's a fungus. It protects us from a lot of stuff. It's important. All right, so almost there. So this is just a picture of, the past. This is the Eocene. There's a big old beaver dam in the background. The beaver's probably 6 foot tall. Look at these big giant sloths. Who studies sloths? That's you, right, Carlos? These are 6-footers. These are a basketball team. They're pretty slow. But we had all this different diversity of life on the planet at times, and they die off. Sometimes they die off in dramatic fashion. Let's talk about mass extinctions, and then that gets us to hippo. Okay? So the factors that cause extinction are a lot of the same things that we're concerned with climate change. We have climate change, severe weather, change of sea level. These are factors that cause extinction naturally. Right? It's when they start to occur more rapidly.
We got all of these in
And one of the big dangers of going extinct are new species, new competition, and then already being a small population that's restricted somewhere or specialized. And so the other class said, oh yeah, red panda is a good example of that. Somebody was representing red panda. Is there another example of a population represented in this group right now that's really small and specialized and therefore vulnerable or endangered to extinction? Food.
It's like, world life population is like 72 right now.
What is the tiger?
Yeah.
72?
Yeah.
That's it?
Individuals.
72 is the whole population. That's bad. That's not good. Anybody else have a small population they're representing?
Mine's like declining.
What do you have again?
Rockover penguin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they're all like,
And they lost like the size of Connecticut property this past weekend. Again. Yeah, so they're in trouble too. Yeah, often we find that if they're already small or if they're isolated, like on an island, they usually lead towards extinction faster than, say, the fox, which is widespread and has a large generalist kind of approach to food and habitat. The giant panda that Michael represents, very specialized. What does it eat?
Bamboo.
Only bamboo?
Mm.
Mainly bamboo,
Mainly.
right? So that narrowing of the diet is restricted or makes it specialized. All right, moving on to the next one. Endemic species, this is a term. Now this is one of the terms you need to know about your animal. Are you endemic or not? Endemic means that it exists in a certain specialized area, nowhere else. And this is a vulnerability thing. If you are endemic, you are much more likely to be susceptible to extinction sooner than others. So our best generalists in the house are probably our orcas and our foxes. They're pretty
What does generalist
generalized.
mean?
Pardon?
What does generalist mean?
Generalist means that they have a wide array of dietary and habitat choices they can thrive in.
Okay.
Whereas something like the timber rattlesnake needs to only be in warm areas. Doesn't really do great in colder regions. I think you can hibernate, but that restricts its range. Where a fox, it doesn't matter. You can go all over. And so, susceptible to extinction if you're endemic. I'm trying to think of who else is endemic. Koala bear. You're endemic, right? Where are you found again? Only Australia. You don't find a population of koalas taking over the Amazon. Although you'd think they would, right? They're tree eaters. Like they'd be home in the Amazon, but no. They're specialists. They only eat eucalyptus leaves. And the eucalyptus mainly grows in Australia and on a couple of California campuses. But you're not gonna find a bunch of koala bears there. Yes, was there a hand up?
Yeah, but I figured it out.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to slide number 33. Mass extinction events. Historically, a mass extinction event will wipe out 50 to 95% of all life on the planet. Whoa, we've had 5 of them already. We're in the middle of our 6th one. The 5 that have occurred, the primary player is volcanic interactions or activity due to tectonic movement, releasing a bunch of volcanoes. I mean a bunch. I don't mean like 3, I mean like 130. And that releases a lot of CO2, and you have rapid CO2 increases in the atmosphere, and it changes the weather. It changes the climate and kills them all. The 2 that they have listed in this slide, I mean there's all of them in the book. They have the KT event, which is the Cretaceous time period. This is 65 million years ago. This is the T-Rex time period. And this is that asteroid that hits where the Gulf of Mexico is. Has that little bit of an impact crater there. And it hit that area, and all that debris from that asteroid hitting and that impact burned most of North America to the ground, and then blocked the sun for several years. That wiped out the dinosaurs. Small mammals and things that could hide under the ground, they survived. Mammals, right? Permian event, all tons of volcanoes, superheating of the atmosphere rapidly meaning within 1,000 years, causing almost a 75 to 95% extinction rate. Bad. So here's where we are. is hippo, all right? So here's our problem. Humans are causing it. The evidence is listed there, and the acronym is called HIPPO. And this is the thing that drives extinction, is HIPPO. I have a slide that will have it on there. And the issue is that we can see this, we're seeing that animals, species, are going extinct at a faster rate than the background rate. So 100 to 1,000 times faster than normal. That's what we think with science right now. Science is always shifting and changing as we get better tools and we ask better questions. Hence the reason why we educate about it, so we can be better with it. But it's looking not great. Okay? This is slide 34.
Is this stuff, this is going to be on the test on Thursday?
No,
This is new.
this is new. This is not for your project. We'll talk about the test on Thursday in a moment. Okay, so here's HIPPO. What does H stand for, you think? Habitat loss. Habitat. I'm going to write the word alteration. Because we never really lose habitat, we just change it. And sometimes these changes or alterations benefit some animals but crush another. Yes,
What size is this one?
35. You don't have it afterwards? Not on yours that I posted? Oh, really? Is it on yours? Is the one that you got from the topics page? Oh, that's really- All right, so habitat alteration change. Give me an example with your critter. Your study, is there what kind of habitat does it prefer, and then how can we change it so they're bye-bye? Go ahead.
My habitat or my animal prefers ice, but the ice is melting, so it's like literally disappearing.
Not all,
I mean, it prefers like
Not
rocky
all-
shores too, but
say
like,
what?
it prefers like rocky shores too, but it does spend quite a time on ice.
Right, it depends on it for hunting and egg laying. Now, there are some varieties that don't need them as much, and there are some varieties of penguin that are found in the tropics, Galapagos penguin. But that kind of adaptation takes many years to occur, hundreds of years. And so this, unfortunately, this habitat alteration and change is happening quite quickly. Is there another example? Can you think of it with your animal? If you can think of an example of how you could change your habitat to hurt your animal, you got it. So Carl, let's give us one. So,
Sloths depend on tropical rainforest, but deforestation is not letting.
right, cut down the tree it depends on, no more sloth, no more koala. Anybody else dependent on trees?
No, right now on trees.
Yeah. Tigers, you need forest cover, right? Or some really tall grasses, but still, you need that
Really?
prey to eat. Yeah, water, right. Change water around, we lose a lot of the species here.
What,
Buy out to the rivers
Water.
where you live and depend on breeding, you're gonna be in trouble, yes.
so like, would like a natural disaster play into this as well?
Absolutely, they can accelerate and hurt a localized population.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of our problems, that ties into humans is forest fires.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of these forest fires are either caused by humans or they're more catastrophic due to the heating of the planet and drier forests. So the deforestation that's happening in the Amazon creates dehydration of the forest, so it's more susceptible to fires. And now we got large swaths of the Amazon on fire.
Is it still on fire?
Oh yeah. As long as they don't have a policy that says put the fires out, why put them out? How to make money. Sometimes you can't control the fire too, right? Or you don't know the fire's going. All right, let's move on. I, what's I?
Invasive species.
Invasive species. So this invasive species, we're gonna study invasive species a lot coming up. Invasive species, this is competition, right? They outcompete the natives, usually by overexploitation of the resources, or they just don't have a predator to control their population, they just outdo you by numbers, right? Can you give an example of an invasive species that's maybe wrecking one of your representatives here in the room? Yes, go ahead.
Oh, it's not wrecking mine.
Okay.
Lionfish.
Right,
Is that what they're called?
yeah. Lionfish is a tropical fish, poisonous spines. I've seen them in Mexico, they're in Florida.
They're trying to train some animal to eat them.
Yeah,
Tigers.
humans.
Tiger sharks.
Tiger sharks, yeah, that's what they're trying to get tiger sharks to eat, to like,
They're also
Yeah,
training
realize-
people to eat it, because we're really good at wiping out stuff. I mean, that's what we do. Lionfish is from tropical Malaysia reef system, yeah?
And crabs are invasive species in England.
Certain type of crab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
King crab.
Is it? I don't know which one's in England.
Yeah.
I know
The
green
very
crab is
giant
big.
ones.
Really?
Yeah,
That's good, those are yummy.
yeah.
We'll be able to control that. If they're not delicious, we have a hard time controlling. All right, let's move on. What's the P?
Pollution.
Pollution. Pollution is putting stress on population, wiping them out. Example. Think about your animal you represent. This is one of the things you have to have in the body.
the consumption of trash.
Yeah.
Say what?
Consumption of trash.
Can you be more specific?
Microplastics.
Microplastics, okay, yeah. Okay, yes?
Like if you dump
Sewage.
chemicals into water, tigers start to stay in water, so.
Yeah. Water pollution, chemical, pesticides, right? From agriculture, they'll run off into the water. Those are good examples of pollution. All right, what's the next one?
Human.
Yeah, human population. More humans, more problems, right? It's the multiplier. So all these problems get multiplied as we add more people, right? We're destined to go, we're almost at 8 billion people now. Unless the current generations decide on what they want for family size, we could maybe have 9 billion easily in your lifetime, maybe 14 billion. And so with that, the doubling of the population, we double the problems, right? I mean, just think of agriculture alone, what is required of agriculture, what it does to you. All right, last one.
What's the
Yeah.
Multiple.
A multiplier, it multiplies a problem. Right, more people, more problems. I can write that. Mo people, mo problems. Just abbreviate it. Okay. Silly. All right, what's the last O? What's O?
Overconsumption.
I'm gonna be more specific. Over hunting or over harvesting. What do I mean by that? Would be an example of that.
Cutting down the rainforest.
Right. So over harvesting is deforestation. Good. What would be an example of over hunting?
the tigers still being the victims?
Mm-hmm.
They're being pouched.
Killing all the fish.
Good. Okay, those are examples. You can probably think of that with your animal. You might be experiencing overhunting or overharvesting, or not. So that's hippo in a nutshell. Okay? Now hippo might come up on the test with Easter Island. And we'll review the test tomorrow in class. We have time. Right? So we're starting to we're blending these back. Yes?
Wait, is the test on chapter like the first chapter
One and
and
two. One
One
in
and six.
ethics.
One
Solid
and
quiz and
six.
stuff. I'm returning all your stuff today. You'll have some of this stuff.
What did it say? Tiger poaching?
Tiger poaching, yes.
For trophies?
Trophies or medicine. Yeah, the skin, the head. I mean, say I killed the tiger, the man-eater. Tigers are terrifying. I mean, if you're one-on-one, a 15-foot long critter, 500 pounds. One swipe will take you down. All right, so that's it for lecture. I'm not gonna lecture anything else. I want you to work on your project so you have room for study for the test. And we'll talk about the test in the last 5 minutes of class. Yeah. Okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Some materials to do.
Alan,
Yes.
were we supposed to answer the speed dating questions?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
That way we're ready for it. There might be some terms you're struggling over, and I'll make sure you have them right. Just want you to try
I
to
did
answer.
most of them, but like,
Yeah.
I just answered these one, like, how do you check them? I don't
Yeah.
totally know.
Okay.
A lot of it, I couldn't find specifically on rock hopper penguins, but I know like penguins and
Yeah, Alan, can I put something here?
Yeah. There's a printer right outside the door. One of the things with specialist generalists, part of that's about like not just habitat, but also diet. Because they may have a very strict diet. So they might be a generalist there with diet, but
Yeah.
they're specialists in where they're found.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. So a lot of this stuff isn't totally black and white, right?
Yeah. But I couldn't find them for like environmentally either.
Yeah.
I was supposed to find.
Well, they're controlling populations and stuff, right? They're also probably a prey item for some animals too.
I think their eggs are prey, but then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a food item for a lot of things, from sharks to seals to other birds. Yeah. There are selected? How many eggs do they lay?
They lay 2 eggs, but one won't make it.
So is that R or
Well,
K?
They can't nurture 2 eggs. They nurture 1 egg.
They nurture one, so that's not R, right?
R-
R means rapid. Means
never mind.
yeah.
Let me set up.
Means lots and lots of eggs and lots of young. All right, so I'm returning stuff to you.
Thank you.
You should review it. If you have questions, I'm happy to discuss
There's
it.
only 3,000 great whites.
There's what?
Only 3,000 great whites.
Really that few?
They're
I think I guess they're all off the Cape Cod this summer, right?
They were-
I feel like they're everywhere.
There were 2 off on the beach of my house.
Would this be
Oh
conservation
wait, that's in
ethics?
the northeast
Last one?
Pacific.
Yeah.
Because of usefulness.
Tricky one.
Yeah, it's
What
because,
is this?
right.
It says nature and beauty, and then it's
Yeah.
usefulness.
Yeah, so preservation ethic is nothing about the
Yeah.
usefulness.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's a typical AP question, right? It's tricky.
Yeah,
That
no,
way.
it's the US,
Kristen, yeah, this is yours. Put your name on it.
One
Might
right.
be.
Who's that one though?
I
That
knew
one's
it.
better.
This is from the book we read.
The book we read
Yeah.
last year, yeah.
Perfect.
Yours.
Which ones did you, thank you.
Yeah, you can talk about those.
I liked it.
We'll give him back a ton of words.
Which-
So sorry.
Yeah, I know. What is this one?
No, this is.
Yours is a-
I knew it was that one. Okay,
I didn't see
what is
that.
this one?
um,
Neither A or B. Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, you want to talk about it? We'll talk about it.
Did you get these, or we have 3 of the same ones?
Was this just something about adding about? I put that to the
Preservation
preservation
method?
effort, yeah.
And I said interesting.
I put it in like the. Oh wait, what did you say?
All right, so there's one question on there that was tricky, right? There's one question that was particularly tricky about Gifford Pinchot
Can I see yours?
picking an ethic where it was for its beauty and usefulness. The tricky part of that is preservation ethic is really about preserving it for its beauty, but not for its use later on. Because beauty and usefulness means you can quantify and sell it, right? If you look out the window right now,
Thank you.
and that is for sale in New Hampshire,
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
right? This is for sale. So that beauty, people come up and view it. So conserving a forest so people come up to tour it is conservation ethic. If it's for preservation ethic, they don't care about that economic or instrumental value, right? That was a tough question. That was the AP question out of the
Could I
group.
airdrop something to you so you can, because I can't print it.
Why can't you print it?
I've had could be trouble with that.
Okay, I'll do it. Yes.
What are these two? This is conservation ethic, not
Mhm.
preservation ethic?
Yeah, this one's just
And
going.
then this one is instrumental.
Wait, let me read the question. No, golden rule. Treat others as you would have others be
Is
treated.
that anthropocentrism?
Because it's others, because we can do it to that ape in the
I
picture.
wrote all day.
Huh?
It's not.
You look, I'm not gonna tell you the answers, you need to look it up in your notes, because then you don't learn it. So, I'm sorry, Bella, you look it up. If you're still struggling over it later, we can do an extra help,
Okay.
okay? That's how I'd like to do that. Alright, you're dropping?
We don't have a thing guy now.
Yeah, Hornet Club.
Oh,
Yes.
I need a binder for this.
So have it all?
I have three folders.
I need to be organized.
He's
so
ready
I
to put up
can
your
go to
bags.
work.
Yes.
You are very organized.
Yeah,
So I feel like nice.
My,
Let's
I feel like I can afford to have a
do,
folder for each class.
I have a binder in my room, but the classes just haven't.
Same, I need to put.
I need to do it. The folder's not working for me. Jake, what did you get this one right? Jamie and Joseph one.
how are we doing in general with this project at this point? Anybody hung up on anything? Because one of my things is I'm not always sure how these things will pace, because it depends on the animal sometimes, and how much information you are wading through versus how much maybe the little information
Can I go
is.
find a stapler real quick?
Sure.
I have an issue.
What is it?
You can't
Wait
find
for
like
this.
recent population information. Or even
Don't worry about recent. Great white's a really tough one to track because it's moving in the
Yeah.
water, and that's one of the
Like,
issues.
this
They can
one's
only
like
track so many individuals.
2014. It also isn't giving me like worldwide, it's giving me like
Yeah.
in the Pacific, like or
So you work with the data you have.
okay.
And I'm glad you brought that up. Nadia brought up a really good point about the population number.
Mine isn't.
So in population ecology, one of the hardest things to do is to put an absolute on population, because it's changing all the time. And then some animals, especially our sea creatures, things that dive down deep, whether they're whales or sharks, they can be very uncertain. Things that are threatening to humanity, we typically watch carefully. Like tigers, we watch carefully. And they're terrestrial, so it's easier. Whereas with a great white shark, they're hard to tag every single individual. I don't even think we know where sharks give birth, right?
I think we found out.
I don't know.
Decomposes niches to like clean up the whatever.
Any other hang-ups? Since people are printing their masks, yes, Kristen?
I
Yeah.
am having a hard time with
All right, yeah, so-
Right. animal niche. And
Right.
It's kind of just like the food for its predators.
Yeah, you have the squid, they prey on the eggs. Are there any other things that depend on it for food? Any other animals that eat it? And then what animals are they eating? Rockhoppers are controlling the population of
Yeah,
creatures
oh,
too.
that's
Right, you gotta put that
It could be, yeah. I mean, the niche is a pretty open concept, because it's kind of like saying, what's Kristen's job or role at Proctor? It's always evolving and changing. And so with a creature like a penguin that is terrestrial and marine based, it's going to have several different impacts.
But I don't know what other organisms depend on my species.
You don't know anything else that may hunt it besides the skua?
Well, I can find some, it wasn't much.
Okay. You should be able to find one other predator. There's one other predator I think I know of that preys on penguins as a
I can
whole.
find like several penguins a whole, but I'm trying to stick.
Yeah,
to-
specific to rockhopper. That's cool. Where are rockhoppers found in Antarctica? Or are they only in Antarctica or are they in South Africa?
I couldn't find anything that said they were in Antarctica. I thought they were in like Argentina, Chile.
Oh, okay, so they're,
The Falkland Islands is their
okay.
thing.
Okay, so they're not that dependent on that big sea ice, or that
They're more
continental
like
ice.
rocky shoals, but they're still affected by warming.
Okay.
Um,
Look at some seal species that may be after them. There might be even some sharks that like them, especially if you're talking about South Africa, because I always think of that as great white country. But
They're
That's where
gone.
Shark Week basically takes place.
They're gone now.
Where?
South Africa
No
and,
more sharks in
and
South
Cape Cod.
Africa.
they are.
They're just gone.
That's right. You can watch that for
It's on my
surfing.
bucket list to go in a cage with great whites.
Oh wow. That is
Yeah, because they're
terrifying.
cool.
That is terrifying.
And
Well,
swimming
no,
with
I'm not-
whale sharks.
I'm not scared. Like I always thought, like the top was closed, so you couldn't get out if it falls. And now they have ones that are open at the top.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And I don't want
so
them
you can let it fall and go up.
like
on the
I can you can
carcass?
swim out. Yeah.
Oh, what's that movie?
And like one of those.
Like
are
it's
okay.
Like it's like
Cage.
40
Some
meters
kid.
down or something like
He's
that.
stuck in a cage.
The
and
Meg.
shark
No,
eats the
no,
kid.
it's
That's so scary.
I was trying to
And I don't really want to like
tackles on my
bait
hair
the
and,
shark. Like
minutes.
I want to just like look at them do their thing. That makes sense. Kind of want to just like sit in a cage and be like, oh look a shark, and then like alright, I'm done.
Yeah, maybe feed them from there.
No.
We're like 2
The
years.
feeding-
There's a lot of sharks out there that are not that scary.
But there's like, yeah.
I guess anything can happen underwater though.
I think whale sharks are cool, but
Sharks are like
all
Whale
the
sharks
ones-
is.
all the other
absolutely-
ones really.
Sharks
scare
are actually
me.
like less scared of you if you're in the water with them than if you're just like, or I mean like not scared
Oh,
of you,
wait.
like you're safer in the water, like underwater with them than you are just like swimming at the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of my sources have been saying there's like 2.5 million for population, but I think that was like just like Western rockhopper. But then there's one source that says 7 million for all of them. Should I go with that?
Yeah, go for the range.
Alright.
I mean, that's the thing that's tough about, populations, they're changing all the time. All it takes is one
Well,
heat
there's
wave
like
or
different
something like.
subspecies. So.
Right, it's true. I'm okay with stuff being fuzzy. I mean, you have your sources, and when I'm looking at it, you've done your work, and you can be able to argue the rockhopper's point of view this time.
Is it fair to say that something's case selected if females stick together for life? Yeah.
Maybe. Give me, what example are you looking at?
Prairie dog.
Prairie dogs. How many young are they having?
2 to 4.
Yeah, then that's case selected,
So
absolutely.
then
Because remember, R selected means there's rapid reproductive rates, meaning they're having lots of kids,
No.
lots of the time. And lots of kids means over 7 or 8.
okay.
What do you
For a
think?
prey species like that, that's pretty interesting that they case select. I thought they
Well,
would
they
be
they
more.
only have a few, and then they like stay in like a
Yeah, the
tight
big
knit.
net
Yeah.
group, emotional lives, yeah. They have language. You should look into that. They actually, scientists have started decoding prairie dog calls.
Really?
And their tone and their amplitude of their calls, scientists have decoded into language, so that it means something. They say
That's cool.
a little
What do you-
shrill bark.
What do you mean by territory range?
Yeah, so that range, you showed me the map, they're like all of the oceans.
Yeah.
So, I think you talking about like where they don't go is okay for that.
Okay. Well, that's kind of been like the habitat.
Yeah,
too,
it is,
because,
it's
like,
repetitive.
And like for their swimming, they don't go like they either go all the way to the bottom or right at the top. They don't hang out in the middle.
Great, that's good. That's Nadia, that's great.
Yeah, all
Fair
these
enough.
sources are the same.
Krista and then Bella.
Do you have construction paper?
Do I have who?
Construction paper?
Let me look. And Bella, what was your question? You're thinking about something there.
Oh, recruitment. What do you mean by
I got these.
practicing recruitment?
Recruitment means that the adults work together to allow the young offspring to reach a certain age of maturity. So an example would be with dogs, or let's say wolves, they would raise a litter of pups, they would come home, feed them, protect them, take turns protecting them. So they don't leave them.
Yeah.
So there are insects and snakes and frogs, they'll have young, they hatch. The adult frogs could care less what they do. Sometimes they may just eat them straight up.
I think the stapler changes.
There isn't a
It's
stapler
in-
in here.
there's- Kristen, there's one in the old science office on the desk on the far wall. It's blue.
Let me check in my room here for construction paper. Not entirely sure.
Alan, what's survivorship curve?
Oh, that's in the chapter reading. I'll show it to you on screen.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, you can look at it too, but then I'll take a moment to explain it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Topics. I think it's the one with like a frog. Yeah. Frog picture.
Okay, I don't have any construction paper. I can, shucks.
They have some at the store.
Okay. So Johnny asked a great question. I'm gonna go to this because it's
You
good.
shouldn't color that.
Going back to the chapter 3, so Johnny asked about survivorship curves, and this is directly related to R and K selection. Survivorship curve. So this is slide number 50. So there's 3 types, major types of survivorship curves. We have 1, 2, 3. And so survivorship curve number 1 means that you have a higher death rate in old age. Type 2 means you can die at any age. Type 3 means you have a higher death rate when you're young. So typically, that's your R selected. K selected would be type 1.
So we just say it type 1, type 2.
Oh, you gotta think about it. You got orcas.
Did you write down something?
Well, like
So here's a visual representation of it, okay? So with orcas, Johnny, what you need to do is just ask or do a search about mortality rates, or you ask that survivorship curve criteria, because they may be type 2.
But like for the answer, it would be type 1, type, like that's what we got.
Yes, it's one of these 3.
I'm guessing type 1, but.
Yeah, but let's make it scientific. You're probably right, but let's have your sources confirm or deny that and try to test it.
They give birth to one baby at a time, so it's probably.
I'm sorry, say it again?
They give birth to one baby at a time.
Yeah, and then they have a whole group that
And then
takes
they
care
nurse
of
it
it.
for 2 years, so probably type 1.
Yeah, and that's good evidence. See, that makes for a good argument. But if you can find it, one of your sites to
Yeah,
say
I'm
yes,
gonna-
it's type 1. Great. This is a really good question. This is great. Jake, how you doing? I haven't heard much from you today. You doing good? All right. You gotta, the Fox is, there's a lot of information on it, so.
Yeah.
What do you want for territory range?
I kinda wanna go to the store and buy
Like in the information chart?
Yeah, that was harder for you because maybe it's like, where aren't you found?
Anywhere that's warm.
There you go.
That's it.
So can you give an example of a warm sea or ocean where they're not likely to be found? Because, they're far ranging. Yes, Bill?
Can we leave a few minutes early to go
Yes.
get stuff from the store for our
Yes.
mess?
Yes. Okay, before you leave though, let me just say this. In tomorrow's class, I will make a pointed effort to talk about the test. But if you're thinking ahead, let me tell you these 2 facts about the test. It's on chapter 1 and ethics. You've had quizzes on both of those. That's a first place to study, okay?
Chapter 1 and
There'll be some other concepts. So Easter Island is on the test. All right. So Easter Island stuff like intergenerational equity, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. We'll talk more about it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else need to leave early to get materials? I'm totally happy with that.
Wait, where'd you get that?
I'm gonna go to the
Huh? That's the blog rubric.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Ellen.
No problem.
Oh, Amy, no,
What
go to
is-
Slocum and ask Jill.
Okay.
Wow.
Ask Jill for the supplies for the mask.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's. Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a great one. Thanks for your focused effort.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah. Johnny, do you have a question or no?
I think so. I'm trying to figure out what question it was. Hold on. Oh, taxonomic class.
Is there an instrumental or intrinsic value for clause? Might want to think like an Australian. Yes. There is one. There is a value. There is one.
What's,
Hang on, let me do Johnny, and then I can take care of you.
what's taxonomic class?
So what is it? So like if you go to Wikipedia, so class is like mammal. I mean, it'd be like things like mammalian, primate, that kind of stuff. And so
Okay.
this you're in the big group of chondrichthyes, but I don't know if that's class or order. So you just gotta look for class. Yes, sir.
We talked about the assignment yesterday.
The what assignment?